That's 100% me.
How many?
6,161.
Yeah, I like it.
So JJ Watt just posted him on his Instagram last night. So he's definitely our go viral kid here. So here we go.
So my name is Terry, and I met this chap a few years back, and we created our own agency called Wond3r. And we're going to talk to you a little bit about that, and then talk a little bit about kind of the business experience and what it takes to be an entrepreneur these days. So Charlie, I don't know if you want to.
I may look young, but I'm closer to 40 than you guys think. So like Carrie mentioned, I'm born and raised in Houston, kind of moved around quite a bit. Went to New York, lived in New York and LA, kind of bounced around. My background is in advertising and marketing. Carrie's is as well. Came back here, met this guy, met another guy, and formed a company because we saw some opportunity, some cool stuff. So I see you guys got to sign up already, which is cool.
We branders.
Who knows who this is?
Travis Scott.
And what has he been doing lately?
Rapping.
What?
What's that?
What bigger than that?
Shoe game.
Shoe game. What has he been doing with the shoe game?
Like he releases on shoes.
We made Travis Scott for it.
You guys wait in line for him?
No. I'm getting them shoes.
No?
No one's rocking them?
Okay. No?
What
Do
is
you
it?
guys like him, or what do you think about him?
It's good.
What's good about it?
Like some of the soy material.
What are the economics behind the shoes? And how much do they go for? How much does the shoe cost?
I didn't really look at it.
Anybody have StockX? Anybody have an app that follows the shoe game? Someone has that?
Don't they have some? Where's Brian?
Well, here go Brian. I was like, where is Brian? That's his field. So
Okay, Brian, tell us how much they're going for right now.
I don't know, like 400, 300.
$400, and it's the same shoe, right? It's just the logo's in a little bit of different place. So that's the power of branding. That's the power of marketing. And so we had a chance to see him perform at New York Fashion Week a few years ago, and he only performed to maybe 1,500 people. We were there to see that performance, and it was pretty cool to kind of see him as his rise happen. I want to talk a little bit about the power of an idea. So I worked for HP for about 12 years in the technology. So who knows who HP is? Anybody know who HP is? The computer company?
Yeah.
Who has an HP? Okay. All right. So I worked there for about 12 years. In the first couple of years I worked there, it was pretty difficult. And so you just had to sit there and kind of take what people were telling you. And I went to a party, and my wife is Asian. And so all of her friends had purses that were done by Louis Vuitton or Gucci or some brand. And so I thought that was really interesting because at the time we couldn't sell the computers for much more than a couple $100, maybe $500. So I said to the executive, I said, what if we did a purse, work with a fashion designer and put that together with a computer? And they said, that's not our market. That's a bad idea. And so I said, well, really think about it, because these purses are selling for $2,000, $3,000, and the computer's only selling for $400 or $500. And they said, okay, well, maybe you have something. And so then I had to convince the next executive, and then the executive after that, and then the executive after that, and then the executive after that. And this process went on for about 3 months. And so eventually we were able to convince everybody, and we were able to go do this project with this fashion designer. So we brought, fashion together with technology, and we were able to charge a lot more and give customers a better experience. And I'm going to show you the product. I'm going to pass it around. So this, you might not have seen it because it didn't go real wide, but we literally had a fashion designer who's Chinese. Her name's Vivian Tam. And she basically designed this computer with us, and she made it beautiful like a purse. So this is a peony imprint. And we ended up this product went to 200 countries globally, and instead of selling for 5 points of profit margin, it sold for 40 points of profit margin. So it was much more profitable, and we were able to give people a better experience. So I'll pass this around so you guys can take a look at it. She signed it. Her thing is double happiness. So in China, when you say double happiness, sure, yeah, question?
How long did it take to convince like that executive after that executive and so on?
It took about a 3-month process, and then people weren't ever really convinced because they said, okay, let's go do it. But then they were like, well, he's going to fail. You know, he's got this idea. It looks like this. Do people want to buy it? And everybody wanted to, because it was so different, they didn't want to get behind it and support it because they didn't want to be wrong. But that's the one thing with the power of an idea. You have to be able to believe in your idea and then convince other people to make it happen. So anyway, double happiness means it's always better to do something together. It's a Chinese proverb, and it's actually a Chinese character on the enter key. So we were able to print it in that. And so this product went all over the globe, 200 countries. And what was really cool about it is, you know, I just had the idea. And then I was able to convince all these people. And then that idea took me all over the world. It took me to India, to New Delhi. Who's been to India here?
I've been to Mumbai.
Mumbai, okay. And to go to a different country like that and see that, you know, the first thing I got off the plane, there were a bunch of monkeys running around the streets. And then you went to this place and you got to see how a different culture worked. And we ended up going to New Delhi Fashion Week. And then we went to Tokyo. I got to go to Japan and see Miss Universe. So they actually had Miss Universe and the president of Sony we had dinner with. And then after that, we went all over Europe and went all over the globe. And that product was actually launched at New York Fashion Week. I had never been to a fashion show. Who's been to a fashion show here? You've been to a fashion show, okay. So it's a pretty cool thing. And so, you know, just through the power of an idea, you're able to change the world. And that product was very successful for us. And that kind of thinking led us into our company. And, you know, so I think that when you're an entrepreneur, you have to believe in your idea more than anybody else. And it's okay if people think you're wrong or crazy, but you have to get behind it and keep driving that idea. And that idea can change the world, and it can take you anywhere in the world. So I think, you know, if there's one thing that you can really focus on today is to have an idea and then follow that idea. Yes?
So where'd y'all get the name Wond3r?
Wond3r? Well, you know, there's a book that was written called Wond3r, and back in the day, people used to, like science, they would study the power of wonder, because the power of human thought and thinking. And so we think it's the most important science today, because a lot of the marketing and advertising is going all digital, and they're only concerned with the information that's about data, where we see that the power of connecting data but to human emotion, like you guys are all a little bit bored. This gentleman's sleeping here. What's your name? What's your name? What is it? Roland? Roland. So if you don't have emotion and you're not connecting to people, they don't care. And so you can have all the data in the world, but you got to be talking to people and making them passionate about something. So that's where we kind of came up with the idea of Wond3r. Yes?
So when you become an entrepreneur, is it like key to go around and explore different things?
Absolutely.
Charlie, I'll let Charlie talk for a little bit.
Yeah, you have to. You can't just, I would say in our experience, you can't just be enamored with one solid thing. You gotta be looking at different opportunities. You gotta be looking at different people from different experiences, from different industries. If not, you're gonna be surrounded by the same people doing the same things, doing the same things all the time. How do you expect to do something different? Or how do you expect to get different results if you do everything the same all the time, right? So that's why you gotta look at a company like HP, who is a tech company, to look at fashion. They gotta look at artists. They gotta look at culture, you know? Otherwise, you're gonna be stuck in the same old routines, doing the same old thing all the time. That's a key component of entrepreneurship, right? You got to look at the different opportunities and the different people that are surrounding you. So I feel like, you know, one of the biggest components of Wond3r, and going back to your question about how we got the name, was Why do you guys like, what do you guys like about a platform like Instagram? What do you like about it?
I'm a football player, so I like that you can like post your highlights. Coach will see it.
Post highlights, okay. What else? What else do you guys like about it? Or another app? Any other app?
YouTube.
What do you like about YouTube?
You get to watch all types of videos, like how-to videos if you don't know how to do something.
Okay.
What's your favorite video right now?
I like to watch college highlights.
College highlights? Okay. What's up?
Twitter.
Twitter? What do you like about Twitter?
A lot of college scouts will be on it.
College scouts are on, okay. Yeah.
We have two other entrepreneurs, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so how many years did it take to be an entrepreneur? Where you at today?
So me, it's taken 40, I'm 49, so it's taken about 40 years to be an entrepreneur. So you got to start young and always believe in ideas and always challenge yourself. School is here, right? School is here, you're going to learn something, but then there's the real world. And so you got to go through all these levels to get to the real world, but you can be connecting to the real world right now. What's stopping you from doing a t-shirt company? What's stopping you from crowdsourcing something? There's no limits to what you could be doing as an entrepreneur right today, right now. I challenged my son. He was able to start and created an anti-bullying campaign with no money. And he got other people to buy the shirts. He put them online. He sold them on Instagram. He sold them to school, and then he raised money to help this bullying thing. But Instagram gives you a vehicle to reach as many people as you want. There's hundreds of millions, maybe billions of people on Instagram right now. If you have an idea, put it on Instagram. If you have an idea, make a video on YouTube. There's nothing stopping you right now from being an entrepreneur, and it's a lifelong passion. You have to want to succeed. You have to want to do something different in this world. And I think that's the hardest thing of being an entrepreneur, is because if you go work for someone else's company, you're going to have to listen and do their idea. If you want to be an entrepreneur, that means going out and creating your own idea and having your own vision or having your own experience put out in the world. So that's a big difference, but it's so rewarding when it happens because you do it. And I think, one of the things that I was blessed with is, you can go work at a company and still always have an entrepreneur's mind and always be having a kind of a side business or something that you want to do, that you want to start up, because, it takes about 30,000 hours to master a skill.
How old are you guys?
14, 15.
Who's the youngest in this? How old are you? You said you're the youngest? How old are you?
I turned 14 I don't think I'm the youngest actually. I'm
Okay.
14.
So around like 13, 14, right? Everyone's probably.
Yeah, this high school, so it's like 14, 15, 16, 17.
Probably the youngest person in there would be 13 or something, or 14, right?
Just turned 14.
Okay, so maybe you might be the youngest. So I'm 37, and I'll tell you that the first time I did something entrepreneurial, I was about 8 years old. And what did I do? So my old neighborhood, you can't pop fireworks. You can't pop fireworks, and this was back in the 80s, right? So what I did was I asked my dad to go take me to a fireworks stand, and we bought tons of fireworks with whatever money I saved up from birthdays and Christmas or whatever. And I was like, man, no one here in the neighborhood can pop fireworks, but the neighborhood over could pop fireworks, right? So what I did was I bought fireworks at a wholesale price as cheap as I could, and then I sold those fireworks to whoever had the ability to pop fireworks but couldn't get the fireworks. You know what I'm saying? So I bought a wholesale and I resold it for black cats were, $1, let's say. You sold it for $2, right? That's what I started doing at 8 years old. So and I don't know if I created like a chalkboard thing, but I remember drawing, because I was an artist back then when I was a little kid. I could draw comic book characters. I could draw Spider-Man and Batman. Funny side story: my 5th grade teacher hired me to draw like a big poster like that size of a Batman, and I was only in 5th grade. So I used my drawing skills to draw like these flyers for these fireworks, and I stuffed them in everyone's mailbox. So everyone knew, like, all right, this is the little kid that could give you some fireworks, right? A lot of other people are lazy. They don't want to do all this stuff.
Yeah.
Well, they'll go in, but they want to pop some fireworks around July 4th. I can tell you that. They're going to want to pop some fireworks around New Year's Eve, or they want to pop some fireworks like on a birthday or something like that, or like with this big family gathering. So at 8 years old, only 6 years before you turn 14, I started thinking, man, I could make $1 here. I can make 50 cents here. And those skills kind of followed me since then. That's why I met up with these cats and wanted to form something that is kind of related to marketing and advertising, but is actually something completely different in terms of what we're doing. So I hope that answered your question of how long it took us to be entrepreneurs. It started when I was young. And it's like 30 years later, we're still thinking like that. It might not always pan out. It might not always be what you envision. It'll pivot. It'll be different. But like I said in the beginning, you got to look at those opportunities and find out what's cool. What can I do with this? What can I do with this? Who can I partner with to make this thing happen? That's going back to what Carrie was saying. Carrie was saying, once you have that idea, go out and try it, right? If it doesn't work, pivot and learn from it. We see everything as a victory. You're either gonna be successful at it or you're gonna learn from it. It's never gonna be a losing proposition, right? That's what we feel like you gotta take away from entrepreneurship. Otherwise, you're gonna be defeated every single time. You don't want that mentality. What you want is to learn from it or succeed from it. So that was to answer your question. Going back to your question, my friend, about how we came up with the name of Wond3r, Carrie was touching upon it. And that's where I was asking you guys about what your favorite platform was. None of you, from what I heard, none of you said, oh man, I like YouTube, I like Twitter, I like Instagram, I like Snapchat, because 10% of this audience led me to do this, or 15% of I didn't hear any kind of numbers. What I heard was, I like this, I like seeing this. That is emotion, right? That's what Wond3r's all about. All of these things created some kind of emotional impact for you. You liked it, you didn't like it, made you laugh, made you cry, whatever. All of that stuff plays into Wond3r. If a brand or an idea doesn't create Wond3r for you, you're probably not going to like it. You're probably not going to feel attached to it. You're probably not going to be enticed by it. So that's a component of kind of everything that we do. If we don't create some kind of Wond3r, some kind of tension, some kind of feeling, emotion, it's out. You can't do anything with it.
Yeah, I think that's where branders kind of don't really realize, or people, is that with a brand or marketing, advertising, what you're doing is you're taking an inanimate product and you're putting human emotions and humanizing that product, so the person wants it, they want to buy it, they have to have it. That's what we do as a brand and marketers and advertising. And each of you are a brand. You're as an athlete, you're out there doing something, you're creating a brand. So what does your brand stand for? One of my favorite players, I'm a huge Notre Dame football fan, and we got to meet some of them through Wond3r and through the things different projects that we're doing. And my favorite football player, he didn't protect his brand. He got caught up in some drugs, and I think he was the most talented one, but he didn't protect his brand. He got in trouble a lot. He wouldn't listen to the coach. And now, instead of having an NFL career, he's on the sidelines being a personal trainer. He'll have a good life, but he never got the stardom. He never lived up to the potential, his brand, or what his brand could become. And, he could be doing his own Nike shoes now, or his own Adidas, or having Odell Belt, OBJ kind of contract, but he doesn't. He doesn't have anything other than a personal trainer. So, having a brand and how you portray that brand on Instagram, on social media, you should be thinking about that. What is you as a brand, what do I stand for? What are the three things that I want my brand to be known for? If you guys go home, I'm gonna give you some homework. It's a project. Go home, and what does your personal brand stand for? What are the three things that you want your brand to stand for? And then when you think of those three things, is it courageous? Is it tenacious? Is it, an underdog? What are the personal traits that you want to take on as a brand and then start to work your Instagram and your social media feeds to promote those attributes. And suddenly you'll be defining your character to scouts or to whoever you're trying to impress. But you need to think really, really hard about what those 3 things are that you want your brand to be. And anybody can do that, so yes.
Do y'all know Legacy's 3 things? The school said? What up?
I know one is prepare to college.
But we have them like in 3 words.
What are the 3 words for legacy?
College
Underneath.
Readiness.
Oh, academic, athletic, professional.
There you go.
There you
That's
go.
our 3 things. Check
Ooh,
it out.
Jahan, boy, what? Way to go.
So those are our 3 things. So it's for academics, athletics, and professions. So if you look at our Instagram page, everything that we put on there is about academics, athletics, and professions. So like y'all will see this class go up because it's going to be about professions. All right, y'all know that?
Uh-huh.
We tag you.
So this is our website. Do we want to talk about some projects that we're doing?
Was she
Oh,
had a question.
like, how is it hard to make up your online business?
I'm sorry, my what?
Like your business online? Like, can you have a website to go on?
So this is a good question, and guys, if you guys have any more questions, please feel free. Because we grew up in an era where the internet didn't exist, you had to do a lot more face-to-face interactions. You had to have a lot more communication skills. Nowadays, man, you guys got something at the click of a button where you guys can put up a piece of content. You guys can have an interview, a photo, a video, whatever, right? So yeah, I would say you guys, or nowadays, brands, companies, our own self-promotion, we have to have a very good online presence. You got to have, like Harry said, you got to have content on there. You got to have a way to monetize it. At least have a plan for it. And I would say at the bare bones, if you don't have any of that kind of squared away, just start posting stuff up. Like Harry said, that's in line with your brand or whatever you think your brand is. Those 3 attributes, right? If you're not ready to kind of monetize anything yet, that's fine. Right now, just focus on your photos, your video, what you want to say, what you want people to perceive you as on online. And that's not just your social, that's on your website, that's on your YouTube, right? Whatever. So it's quite important. You got to build up to it. We had hiccups when we first started our thing too, because Wond3r is our marketing and advertising agency, and we work with Singapore Airlines, we work with the NBA. In our past, my individual past worked with, Honda, Acura, Dairy Queen, Wingstop, United Airlines, other brands as well. Carrie's worked on a lot of tech, Beats by Dre, et cetera, et cetera. A lot of those brands have to have a very good presence and online presence, but you got to have a plan to kind of get there. And I think for us, it's like, we had to figure out what type of content we want to put out there. And that's always a fluid thing, right? It's not set in stone all the time. Sometimes things change. It's okay to pivot a little bit, but at least as long as you have a plan kind of laid out, follow the plan, follow the runway, follow the track.
Do y'all know what pivot means?
Yes, ma'am.
A basketball. You know what pivot means? But it is the same thing. So your pivot is like, so what you would do, and how I would look at it from a pivot standpoint, you keep that 1 foot planted, but you change direction just a little bit, but you keep it, you remain solid in what your thought process is.
That's right.
Go with the flow.
Yeah, you can. So it's kind of like if defense makes you go another direction, you can come out of it, right? But you can still go back to where you were because that pit, you stayed solid with what your idea was. So it might change colors or it might have a different look, but it's still going to be the same thing that you originally, you just made little adjustments.
Right, little adjustments.
Yeah.
Here's something to think about the power of the internet. Whatever the size screen you're looking at. So maybe it's your phone, maybe it's a tablet, maybe it's just this size screen. Any brand in the world is now on the same level because they only get the same size page. So I don't care if you're the biggest brand in the world or you're the smallest brand in the world, the size of the page and what you put on there is the same size. So before, big companies could win because they had huge ability to do that. The internet has really kind of leveled the playing field. Now, every brand and any company that has access, and what I like to think is that every person has every customer in their pocket. You have access to every customer on the planet on your phone.
Yeah.
So at this moment, in this time, this is an exciting time to be an entrepreneur because you can be bringing so many different things together. One of the companies that we're working with is the Center for Space Medicine. So who knows about, what is Houston's nickname? Space City.
Yeah.
Right? We're the Space City, right? So what happened here? We just had the 50th anniversary of it.
We landed on the moon.
Right? We were the city that helped the world put a man on the moon. So in the next 20 years, we're going to be going to Mars. And to do that, all this technology and innovation needs to happen. And so you're sitting in a city where all of that is being built right now. And we get to work with a doctor, his name's Dr. Sutton. He is literally studying the effects of space on every human that has gone to space. So he does clinical trials, studying the effects, and they're coming up with products in space to help Earth because the ultimate laboratory is now in space. So they came up with this thing called, there's a lot of radiation up there. So the astronauts drink this like a Gatorade, but it's called Enterade, and it protects their body from some of the radiation. Well, they came back down and they were looking for other ways to use that. So they're like, who else has a lot of radiation going around in cancer patients? So they supplied this Gatorade for cancer patients that protects their body from the other radiation. So there are so many things that the world is needing right now. We're in a place where the environment isn't so good. Green is a problem. Sustainability is a problem. But we can invent our way out of these things with ideas. So I think as entrepreneurs, you guys are in a very lucky spot because you have access to every person in the planet on your phone. You have access to do something with technology, with a website, with social media, with social. And if you have a good idea, you can get it out there now. So I would look to really be excited about this time and really think about what you're passionate about. What is it that drives you? What is it that you like? And if you love something, then I would think about, well, how do I create a company or an idea around that thing that I love? And if enough people love it, you get in between there. That's how you make a lot of money.
So one thing I wanted to touch on for Tracy real quick, or two things, was that Enterade thing, that Gatorade thing. All that science stuff sounds really nerdy, right? Like it's real geeky and it might not be your cup of tea, right? But the way that we were thinking was, man, wouldn't this be amazing if they can use this organization and collaborate with like Supreme or Kith or Adidas or someone like that and create an awesome product based off of like real research so that they can create something cool. That's where our heads are at. It's like always this innovation. Like, who can we partner with?
Yeah.
But we actually made it happen with Reebok. Reebok is actually talking with these guys to help create some kind of cool new space thing, develop some kind of new space fabric, and incorporate it in, either it's like a shoe or like a shirt or something like that. And so this cool innovation starts to happen. So that's where entrepreneurs need to think. It's like, who can I partner with to make something cool and make this thing happen? And the other point I wanted to make was, Carrie was talking about how on your phone, you have everyone in your pocket. Well, you're not just competing with some people in the class. Coca-Cola's competing with you, right? Supreme is competing with you guys. You name it. The other brands that you guys like, Glossier or attention, for her attention, for his attention. So you guys have leveled the playing field now in this era in terms of what you can do on the phone and online and how to promote yourself. You guys aren't a customer to Coca-Cola or any of these big brands anymore. You guys are a competitor to these guys now. That's the way you guys got to be thinking. It's like, how can I brand myself in a way, the same way like I think of LeBron as a great basketball player, but you know what? He is an awesome brand too by the things that he does. like the things that that he does in terms of charity, the things that he does in terms of who he collaborates with. I mean, he did an awesome collaboration with this designer called John Elliott with Nike, and he's creating this awesome apparel line. But now those type of things are on par with him as a basketball player. You know what I'm saying? It's not just him as a basketball player anymore. It's him as a brand, as for self-promotion, as a businessman. And so, you know, he has these different avenues. Like if he got hurt and he can't play anymore, he'll be totally fine. Totally fine. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's where in our heads as marketers and advertisers come from. It's like, all right, if Reebok's message is just selling shoes for $35.99 or whatever, they're gonna die. They're not gonna be able to sustain themselves. They have to reinvent and collaborate and partner. And for them to think that way, they have to think very nimbly, very entrepreneurial-like, right? They gotta think in ways where it's like, I can't think of ourselves as just a shoe brand or an athletic brand. I gotta think of ourselves as an innovator of science or sport or something like that. That's where it gets really fun to play with. Yeah.
So I'm about to, because they have to go to the next class, but I do want to say something real quick. Sit down. We had so in my other class, we're doing my seniors are doing a business project as well, right? So we're watching this show. We're actually doing a class through Wharton University, through Penn State, yeah. And one of the things that I just recently learned was that in a lot of big companies, they have entrepreneurs. There are people that are in there that are labeled entrepreneur, like they partner with groups, right? So they have so it's kind of scary sometimes being an entrepreneur trying to step out on your own, right? Because that's what you generally have to do, right? You try to do it as a side gig for a while, and then you're like, now I need to really focus on it. So you'll let go of your main job to focus on your entrepreneur, because you feel like it's gonna work. Well, but then they also have, in big companies, sometimes they have people that work in there that have that entrepreneur mindset, and they have I forgot the title, and I'll come back and I'll tell you the title of it. But it's really neat because I just recently learned, and I thought it was cool because they're the ones that build those partnerships for the company. So it's just to give you opportunity, just to open your eyes to different things that are out there. Right. So don't just sit and think that someone your age is not out there trying to make a business and trying to work for themselves or trying to change the world. Because if you just sit back, you will miss a lot of opportunity just because you didn't feel like it. So sorry guys, I just wanted to throw that in.
No, it's good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Y'all have any questions?
Okay.